Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. Drew Kane telling Willow Tate 7 shocking words would be enough to shake the very ground beneath her, but nothing could prepare her for the emotional firestorm that erupts when he follows those words with a heartfelt marriage proposal that completely blindsides her. Now that Willow is out on bail, walking the fragile line between freedom and uncertainty, Drew is determined to prove that their future still matters, that what they built together wasn't just convenient circumstance but something worth fighting for, something real, something he refuses to let slip through his fingers a second time. Standing before her, eyes unwavering, Drew reminds her in those 7 electrifying words, "I still want a life with you," that his devotion has never faltered, not even when the world doubted her innocence or assumed she'd turned into someone capable of unthinkable acts. His voice trembles with a mixture of longing and conviction as he tells her that losing her once nearly destroyed him, and he's not willing to repeat that heartache when there is even the faintest chance they could rebuild. Without hesitation, he drops to one knee, presenting a ring that symbolizes not only renewed hope but his unwavering belief that Willow deserves a champion by her side during the darkest storms. Willow, staring down at him with wide, astonished eyes, is hit with a tidal wave of memories, some beautiful, others painful, of everything they've endured, including the moment at the altar when she abandoned him after learning, courtesy of Curtis Ashford's meddling, about Drew's past passionate betrayals with Nina Reeves. That humiliation and heartbreak still lingers fresh in her mind, the sting of that ruined wedding day, something she never truly allowed herself to confront. Yet so much has shifted since then, so many new alliances, betrayals, arrests, and revelations have reshaped her world that the version of herself who walked away from Drew feels like an entirely different woman. Spoilers say Drew sees this moment as a chance for a clean slate, a chance to reshape their narrative from shattered trust to second chances, and he wants Willow to know that, not for one second, did he ever believe she tried to kill him. He tells her that the accusations against her have only strengthened his determination to clear her name because he knows, in his heart, she's incapable of such violence. He vows that he'll do everything in his power to ensure she remains a free woman, and he insists that standing united is the strongest strategy they have to overcome the legal nightmare looming ahead. But Willow, despite being deeply moved, cannot ignore the complex knot of reservations twisting inside her. Her reconnection with Drew has been transactional at times, shadowed by the awareness that standing beside him projects the image she desperately needs right now. A woman wrongfully accused who still maintains the loyalty of the man she supposedly tried to eliminate. Walking away from him would be disastrous optics, making her look both cold and guilty, so she knows she must weigh her emotional truth against the harsh reality of public perception, legal strategies, and the ruthless swirl of Port Charles gossip. And now Drew, determined, emotional, hopeful, has placed an engagement ring in her line of sight, a glittering symbol of exactly how high the stakes have become. He argues that getting married immediately would send a message to the judge and jury: if Drew Kane, the man allegedly targeted by Willow, is willing to publicly bind his life to hers, then the entire accusation falls apart under its own absurdity. A marriage would prove solidarity, unity, and the absence of fear between them. It would be a powerful statement, a strategic declaration, and a heartfelt plea all wrapped in one. Willow's heart races as she listens to him plead for a second-chance marriage ceremony, reminding her of everything that was lost and everything that could still be reclaimed. Her disdain, still simmering beneath the surface, threatens to sway her judgment, but the bigger picture, the survival instinct, the determination to protect her future, holds her back from rejecting him outright. In the distance she can practically hear the whispers of Port Charles residents who will react with either shock or fury when word inevitably spreads, because engagement news between Drew and Willow, especially now, will ignite the town like wildfire. Does Drew truly want her back out of love, or is he also motivated by optics? And is she contemplating saying yes for emotional closure, strategy, or genuine longing? The lines have blurred so deeply that Willow can no longer tell where practicality ends and desire begins. Still, in this charged moment, Drew reaches for her hand, his voice soft but firm, insisting that their story doesn't have to end in chaos and disappointment, that they can rewrite their fate, erase the pain, defy the gossip, stand united in court, and start again. He wants her to believe in a future beyond courtrooms, accusations, and public scrutiny, a future where they choose each other not out of fear but love. Willow swallows hard, caught between instinct and reason, and feels the weight of everyone watching, everyone waiting, everyone ready to judge whatever decision she makes. As Drew looks up at her with hope shining in his eyes, she wonders if saying yes would be surrendering, surviving, or simply trusting her heart again. One thing is certain, the week of November 24th to 28th is about to explode with scandal, uproar, and raw emotion as Willow Tate makes a decision that could alter her fate, her reputation, and her entire future in Port Charles, because whether she accepts or rejects Drew's shocking proposal, the fallout will be nothing short of seismic. As Willow stands frozen in place, staring at Drew on one knee before her, the weight of the moment stretches out like an eternity, pressing down on her chest in a way that makes breathing feel almost impossible, because this isn't just a marriage proposal, it's a turning point, a crossroads, a collision of past wounds and future possibilities that she never expected to be confronted with so suddenly. Everything around her blurs into a soft haze as her mind frantically sifts through every memory tied to this man, the moments they laughed together, the comfort he brought her in some of her darkest hours, the way he once made her feel seen, understood, and safe, and also the betrayal that cut her so deeply she questioned whether she ever truly knew him at all. That betrayal, Nina Reeves, those secret encounters, the truth spilling out in the most humiliating way possible on what was supposed to be her happiest day, still thrums like a bruise beneath her skin, reminding her that love can be both salvation and ruin. She can still hear Curtis's voice echoing through her mind, see the look of shock ripple across the wedding guests, feel her heart crack as she walked away from the altar and left Drew standing alone, broken and blindsided. And yet, despite all of that, despite everything she promised herself she'd never revisit, here he is, offering her not just a ring, but redemption, forgiveness, unity, and a vow to stand beside her even as half the town whispers behind their hands about the accusations clouding her name. Drew's eyes hold a sincerity that strips away her defenses, a sincerity she hasn't seen from him since before everything fell apart, and for one fleeting moment she wonders if maybe, just maybe, there is still something buried between them worth saving. But the stakes now are different, higher, darker. Being tied to Drew again wouldn't just reshape her emotional world, it would alter the narrative surrounding her case, influence the court's perception, shift the balance of public opinion, and possibly determine whether she walks free or spends years behind prison bars. She knows all of this. She feels all of this. And Drew, sensing the tidal wave inside her, gently rises from his kneeling position and steps closer, lowering his voice to a soft, almost trembling murmur as he reminds her that he never once believed she pulled that trigger, that the man standing before her is someone who trusts her innocence so fully he is willing to bind his life to hers publicly, permanently, defiantly. He tells her that love isn't just about the beautiful moments, they've had plenty of those, but about standing together when everything collapses, about choosing each other even when the world says you shouldn't, and about recognizing that second chances exist because mistakes, heartbreak, and imperfect truths are part of life. Willow feels her eyes sting with unexpected tears because she has spent so long pretending she no longer cared that hearing him speak with such raw vulnerability cuts through her emotional armor like a blade. She wants to believe him. She truly does. But doubt whispers in her ear, reminding her of everything she's endured, Michael's betrayals, her battles with illness, her losses, the people she's had to walk away from to survive, the way love seems to twist and transform until she barely recognizes it anymore. There is also the gnawing knowledge that this proposal is layered with strategy, whether spoken aloud or not, and she cannot ignore how much she needs Drew in her corner right now. The optics matter, the perception matters, the timing matters, and aligning herself with Drew might be the single smartest move she can make to protect herself. But is that a reason to marry someone? Is strategy enough to justify intertwining her life with his again? She has always followed her heart, even when it led her into difficult territory, but her heart is conflicted now, split between a yearning for connection and a fear of repeating past mistakes. As Drew continues speaking, his voice steady but emotional, he tells her he wants to build something real again, something lasting, something that proves their story didn't end at that ruined altar but was simply paused until they were ready to face the truth and choose forgiveness over resentment. He insists that marrying right now isn't about desperation or manipulation but about reclaiming what they lost and sending a clear message to the legal system, to Port Charles, to everyone watching, that they are unbreakable, that they trust each other, that they are united. He reaches for her hand as he tells her he still believes they could have had a beautiful life together once, and that they still can, if she's willing to take the leap. The sincerity in his voice is almost disarming. Willow feels her pulse race as she tries to imagine what accepting this proposal would mean, walking into a courtroom as Drew's fiancée or even his new wife, showing a united front so powerful it could sway jurors, soften the judge, and maybe even silence the gossips whispering that she is capable of violence. She imagines standing beside him during press conferences, walking through town with their heads held high, rebuilding the trust they shattered, proving that love and loyalty still have a place in lives as complicated as theirs. But she also imagines the backlash, the fury from Nina, the confusion from Michael, the judgment from the entire Corinthos clan, the shockwaves that would ripple through General Hospital, ELQ, and every corner of Port Charles. Accepting Drew's proposal would shift the entire social landscape, ignite conversations she is not sure she's ready to face, and force her into the spotlight at a time when she wishes she could simply disappear. She starts to tremble, not from fear, but from the overwhelming magnitude of the decision before her. As she tries to steady her breathing, Drew's expression softens and he brushes a loose strand of hair from her face in a gesture so tender, so familiar, that her heart aches with a bittersweet longing. He tells her those 7 shocking words one more time, "I still want a life with you," as if repeating them will anchor her long enough to make the choice he is silently begging for. Drew insists that this marriage would be more than an act of survival, it would be a chance to reclaim happiness, rebuild trust, and fight side by side instead of drifting alone through chaos. He promises her that if she says yes, he will spend every day proving he deserves her faith, her forgiveness, and her heart. Willow's breath hitches as she takes in everything, his words, his eyes, his sincerity, his desperation, his love. And in that moment, she realizes that no matter what decision she makes, someone will be hurt, someone will be furious, someone will accuse her of manipulation or foolishness, and someone will question her motives. But this moment isn't about them. It's about her. It's about Drew. It's about the unresolved love still burning quietly beneath layers of resentment, guilt, and fear. It's about the possibility, fragile but undeniably present, that maybe the universe is offering her one more chance to choose something that could heal instead of destroy. As her hands tremble in Drew's, Willow feels her voice rising inside her, ready to speak, ready to answer, ready to reveal whether she will surrender to the proposal that could rewrite everything, and as Port Charles braces for impact, knowing that whatever choice she makes will send shockwaves through every life connected to hers, only one question remains hanging in the air, heavy with anticipation: will Willow say yes, or will she walk away again, this time for good? Willow feels the world tightening around her as Drew's proposal hangs suspended in the charged silence between them, and although her lips part as if to speak, nothing comes out, because the truth is she doesn't actually know what answer is buried inside her, not yet, not fully, and the conflict twisting in her chest is growing heavier by the second. She feels the courtroom atmosphere, even though she's standing far from the courthouse, as if invisible eyes are already waiting to judge her next move, as if the verdict of her heart will somehow mirror the verdict the legal system is preparing to hand down. She stares at the ring Drew's holding out to her, the small sparkle catching the light with a quiet intensity that fills her with both fear and longing. It is impossible not to remember how everything once felt so certain, so full of hope, so promising, before secrets and lies unraveled their wedding day and tore apart everything they were supposed to become together. That day remains etched in her memory, not just the humiliation of hearing about Drew and Nina's secret encounters, but the way the betrayal made her question her own worth, her own judgment, her ability to trust. It wasn't merely the act itself, but the fact that he didn't tell her first. She had trusted him with everything, believed in his honesty, believed in his character, believed in the man he presented himself to be, and when the truth shattered that picture, the devastation was almost more than she could bear. And now, standing here as the man who broke her heart begs for a second chance, she wonders if she's actually afraid of saying yes, or afraid of what it will mean if she walks away again. Drew takes a step closer, his voice softer than she's heard it in months, and he tells her that he doesn't want their past to define them forever, that forgiveness doesn't erase pain but acknowledges that people can change, grow, evolve, and become better than the versions of themselves who once made terrible mistakes. He tells her that he has spent months thinking about what he lost, replaying the moment she walked away from the altar, desperate for just one more chance to explain, to apologize, to rebuild. And now, with the threat of prison looming over her, he sees another chance, this time not just to repair what they lost but to stand by her during a crisis he refuses to let her face alone. Willow's heartbeat thunders as she listens to him speak, and though part of her wants to close her eyes and lean into the comfort of everything Drew is offering, another part reminds her that choosing love has often come with devastating consequences. She thinks of Michael, how he blindsided her, how he made promises he didn't keep, how he broke her heart despite the years they spent together. She thinks of the Corinthos family, how tangled alliances and secrets often left her feeling small and powerless. She thinks of Nina, who has caused chaos in her life over and over again, whose role in the downfall of Willow's previous wedding still feels like a fresh wound. And she cannot help but wonder if tying herself to Drew again would invite a new storm of conflict, accusations, and betrayal she isn't sure she can survive. Yet when she looks at Drew, really looks, she sees a man who is genuinely trying, a man who has suffered, a man who wants to protect her, a man who is offering her his loyalty without hesitation. A loyalty she desperately needs right now, whether she wants to admit it or not. Her legal team has already warned her that public support from Drew, the alleged victim, could be the single biggest factor in convincing the jury of her innocence. A marriage would amplify that effect, turning her from a suspicious ex-fiancé into a woman loved and trusted by the man she supposedly tried to kill. Drew knows this as well, though he chooses not to emphasize the strategic angle too heavily, insisting instead that this proposal is born from love and the belief that their story deserves a more hopeful ending than the one fate nearly forced upon them months ago. Still, Willow knows that optics matter. Optics matter more than truth, more than love, more than intention, especially when the legal system is involved. She closes her eyes as she imagines walking into the courtroom on Drew's arm, the attorneys whispering, the reporters scrambling for coverage, the jurors shifting in their seats as they take in the message such unity would send. She can almost hear her lawyer's voice telling her this move would be brilliant, almost essential. She can almost feel the shift in public opinion as Port Charles re-evaluates her innocence. But is that enough to say yes? Willow has never been someone who takes marriage lightly. She takes commitment seriously, too seriously, some might say. She does not want to hitch her life to someone based solely on strategy. She wants meaning. She wants sincerity. She wants trust. She wants something real. And the question burning inside her now is whether Drew is being honest with her, and whether she is being honest with herself. Drew gently lifts her hand, placing it over the ring box, his touch warm, steady, devastatingly familiar. He says her name so softly it sends a shiver through her spine, a reminder of the intimacy they once shared, the life they almost built. He whispers that he knows she's afraid, that he's afraid too, that love is terrifying because it demands surrender, vulnerability, risk, and faith. He tells her that he doesn't expect her to forget the past, only to believe that their future can be different, better, stronger. He tells her he wants to wake up beside her again, to hold her through the nights she feels alone, to fight for her in public and in private, to show her she is worth every ounce of effort he has left to give. He tells her those 7 shocking words again, this time slower, deeper, more emotional, I still want a life with you, and hearing them spoken with such aching sincerity makes something inside Willow crack open, a quiet fracture in the walls she's built around her heart. Memories flood her, the way he used to hold her after long shifts, the way he looked at her as if she were the only person in the room, the way he supported her through her medical battles, the way he made her laugh, the way he loved her with a steadiness she hasn't felt since. But memories can be deceptive, they can paint over pain, soften the edges of betrayal, blur the truth of what happened. She forces herself to acknowledge that loving Drew didn't stop him from lying to her. Loving Drew didn't prevent the heartbreak that followed. Loving Drew didn't protect her from the explosion of chaos that destroyed their first attempt at a future. So why would now be different? Drew seems to sense her hesitation, her internal war, and he gently lifts her chin so she meets his eyes again. He tells her that love is not about perfection but perseverance. He tells her that he has learned from his mistakes, that he understands the damage he caused, that he will spend every day from this moment forward proving he can be better. He says he wants the chance to show her the kind of partner he should have been all along, loyal, honest, devoted. Willow feels tears fill her eyes as she tries to comprehend the enormity of this decision. She thinks of Wiley and Amelia, how their lives would be affected if she married Drew. Would it bring stability? Confusion? Hope? She thinks of her own future, of whether she wants to build a life with someone she once loved deeply but no longer fully trusts. Then she thinks of the alternative, facing her trial alone, vulnerable, unsupported, overwhelmed. She pictures herself being led away in handcuffs, sentenced